Oxygender and sexuality, an amazing and great theory. Male, female and sexuality. Simple organisms breathe and use oxygen. Oxygen is a magnetic substance and exists in the atmosphere of this planet in magnetic polarities. Oxygen atoms of opposite polarities are attached to each other in O2, which is what oxygen-breathing organisms breathe. A simple organism that was ready to replicate or reproduce that contained oxygen of both magnetisms in equal amounts in its system, O2, that was in a place on this planet where a magnetic field demarcation line is strong, replicated or reproduced into two slightly different varieties because of the oxygen contained in its system and the magnetic field. For example, it doubled its body mass and then replicated into two using the magnetic field, and each had oxygen atoms of opposite polarity in it afterwards. This might have happened in multiple simple organisms in different places on the globe. This would also involve the chemical or substance that facilitates replication or reproduction. Given that oxygen is a basic need of all animal organisms, oxygen-breathing organisms, the substance that facilitates replication in simple organisms might be partly made from oxygen, and may have magnetic properties also. This chemical had to have separated into two chemicals, because of oxygen and magnetism, that then needed to be put back together for replication or reproduction to occur again. The replication of simple organisms that contain equal amounts of both magnetisms of oxygen in a magnetic field, particularly on or near a magnetic field line, cause replication into two slightly different varieties because of the magnetic properties of the oxygen in its system. This is what has resulted in what we now know as male and female. Both male and female evolved at the same time. As an example to explain today, male and female human beings are testosterone and estrogen based in terms of bodily hormones and sexual substances. When there was no such thing as male or female, before the split into two varieties in a simple organism replicating along oxygen magnetic lines, whatever led to these substances may have been one chemical. This facilitates both evolution and environmental balance. Oxygen that is magnetized was one of the main causes of male and female. Oxygen atoms have different properties in the atmosphere due to friction static caused by the circulation of the atmosphere and the magnetic field of this planet, and other environmental factors, and bond with each other in three different ways to form O2, O3, and molecules containing O4 and more, O8 for example. Oxygen bonding with itself that formed O2 led to heterosexuality, magnetically opposite oxygen atoms, the cause of male and female bonding together to form O2. Oxygen bonding with itself to form O3 led to homosexuality, oxygen that is the same magnetically bonding together then forming a weak bond with a third oxygen atom to form O3, what composes the O3 layer. Oxygen bonding with itself that formed O4 and more, O8 for example, led to bisexuality. This form of oxygen is four or more weakly magnetic oxygen atoms bonded together. The reason that different ways oxygen bonds with itself plays out in different sexual preferences is because oxygen is one of the main causes of gender itself, male and female, as explained earlier. The different molecularly bonded forms of oxygen that exist in the atmosphere of a planet where life exists, or where life can begin and evolve, are required for the environment to remain suitable for life and evolution. O3 is required to form and remain in the upper atmosphere, and its levels there, parts per million, increase over time, to block out ultraviolet light, and possibly other radiation, so that life can evolve into more complex and intelligent forms. O2, O4 and above are required for breathing and other life chemical functions. When those who chose to have a child restrict themselves to whatever they get from one successful pregnancy, and each sexuality exists in its correct natural percentages, population growth remains near stable permanently, allowing for the maintaining of the environment in completely clean and stable condition. All three sexual preferences, homo, hetero, bi, are equally natural. People get conceived and born homosexual or heterosexual or bisexual. There is no gender ambiguity in any of the three sexualities. People are either male or female from the instant of conception, regardless of their sexual preference. No action should be taken against any person who has a natural predisposition to partner with someone of the same gender, as this is a natural occurrence and is part of the true path of nature and fulfills a purpose within life and evolution. Homosexuality is as natural as heterosexuality or bisexuality. Equal rights, legal partnership rights, financial, medical etc. must be allowed. Of course, these concepts also apply to animal sexuality and gender. Male and female is always roughly 50-50% no matter what occurs on the planet. We follow the path of oxygen in our sexual behavior because it is a primary need of all intelligent organisms on this planet. Every cell of the body and particularly the brain requires oxygen. The human brain is flooded with oxygen constantly. Oxygen is the primary reason evolved gender happened, of which there are only two, male and female. Oxygen is also the reason why other oxygen-using organisms exhibit homosexual and bisexual behavior. It might be the case that it takes a brain of a certain size and complexity for the three different sexual preferences to appear in any species. Please note, attempting to change the amount of each molecular bonded form of oxygen in the atmosphere does not change the percentages of people that get born heterosexual, homosexual or bisexual. The composition of the atmosphere of this planet being deliberately changed has an infinitesimally negligible impact on the amount of those substances in the universe. Destroying an entire planet to destroy the oxygen that was in its atmosphere would not stop even one less person being born homosexual in the universe, because the universe is too big, and the oxygen still formed in the atmosphere anyway. For example, if the vermin elsewhere in the galaxy said they attempted to get our species to deplete the ozone layer as if it was an attempt to see if it would change the percentage of people born homosexual, then they were lying. They were only trying to increase the likelihood of everything on the planet that breathes oxygen dropping dead due to radiation, including the radiation they have fired hitting the surface through the depleted ozone layer. They would only claim to be attempting to reduce the percentage of people born homosexual to attempt to increase the likelihood of our species breeding itself to oblivion in some kind of overpopulation environment disaster anyway. If there were a metaphor for homosexuality within the oxygen theory, it would be that two gay men should have a gay female who drops around regularly and is a friend, and two gay females should have a gay man who drops around regularly and is a friend. Single gay men go out with two gay females for a drink occasionally, and a single gay female go out with two gay men for a drink occasionally. The explanation of why bisexuality is natural and normal as well don't mean all bisexuals should be involved in a relationship that involves four people, two male, two female. Theory of sexual choice greater than. All references to sexual choice refer to people who are adults now, and those who will be in the future. What people are attracted to now, adults, and what people will be in the future, when they become adult. Split the population up into ninths. 2 ninths plus 2 homo, each ninth, 1 male and 1 female, 1 ninth plus 1. 1 ninth bi plus 1. 6 ninths hetero. Hetero subcategories of 2 ninths each, 1 male and 1 female. Everyone has the same amount of sexual choice. Adults from 1 ninth of the population is really sexually compatible. 22.22% plus 2 homosexual, 11.11% plus 1 bisexual, 66.66% heterosexual. Homosexuals have the choice of any other homosexual adult of the same gender, from 11.11% of the population. Bisexuals, any other bisexual adult, from 11.11% of the population. Heterosexuals, any other heterosexual adult, of the other gender, of the same subcategory, from 11.11% of the population. 1 ninth of the population of choice of truly sexually compatible partner per person. The percentages of people of the three sexualities and subcategories don't change. If people of one gender and sexuality group die, then more people of the gender and sexuality group get conceived, and the percentages stay the same. This, however, is not rebirth into a new body. If large numbers of one gender and sexuality group die, all it does is reduce the average age and life expectancy of the gender and sexuality group, not the percentage that group makes up in the total population. Any ideology that states that anal, oral, same-gender and mutual masturbatory sex shouldn't be allowed is unnatural. Theoretically 50-50 for who is looking for each gender. Theoretically around 50% of the population isn't sexually interested in forming a sexual relationship with a female at any time. 11.11% plus one homosexual male. 33.33% heterosexual female. 5.555% bisexuals, around 50% of bisexuals, making the total of around 50% of the population. Theoretically around 50% of the population isn't sexually interested in penetrating a female vagina during sex. 11.11% plus one homosexual male. 33.33% heterosexual female. 5.555% bisexuals, making a total of around 50% of the population. Theoretically around 50% of the population isn't sexually interested in being penetrated by a penis during anal sex. 11.11% plus one homosexual female. 33.33% heterosexual male. 5.555% bisexuals, making a total of around 50% of the population. But all are, or will be, interested in anal stimulation with a finger and incidental stimulation during sex. Theoretically all are, or will be, interested in oral sex. Contraception. Anal and oral sex, digital masturbation, penetration are a way to prevent conception when a male and a female have sex. Therefore preventing conception is a natural thing to do. The difference between non-chemical conception prevention and chemical contraception is a big one. Condoms, that are chemical-free, are not a form of chemical contraception. Neither is vasectomies or fallopian tube ties, or hysterectomies, but all these require surgery. It is very understandable that people and animals would debate chemical contraception because of concerns on the effects of chemical contraception in people who have used chemical contraception before conception. Contraception that uses chemicals has to be proven to be safe. A person could decide to not participate in chemical contraception before having a child, and then use it afterwards if they don't intend to have another. Claiming the stress of possible conceptions during sex between males and females makes being homosexual less stressful isn't factoring in the stress of being homosexual and going through a process of thinking about having a child and how to go about approaching someone of the other gender and conceiving it. There is a lot of angst involved in that process, as there is in male-female sex concerns about casual and clumsy conceptions causing population growth concerns. Harassing homosexuals because homosexual sex can't cause conceptions is not acceptable, and the idea that homosexual is inherently less stressful because same-gender sex can't cause conception is a blatant lie. Got age of consent greater than. The age of consent is the average age a human becomes sexually chemically adult naturally. The age of sexual activity consent must be based on the average age a person finishes puberty enough to be considered ready for sexual contact, is sexually chemically adult naturally. A study could be done amongst high school and university, college, tertiary students to determine what the average age a person becomes sexually chemically adult, based on such things as pheromones and other physical testing, set using the results, and then refined further from there.